Are we ready for the fun part now? We're down to the furniture and the fabrics and the good stuff, okay. There are a couple of terms that I just want to talk to you about in terms of furniture, and that is the commode. The commode is a low piece of furniture, wider than it is tall, often with ornamental mounts and often a serpentine shape. We're going to talk about console tables. Usually it's just a table with a top surface. Can be in this Rococo style or a Louis XVI style is here. The bergère does not refer to a style of chair, it refers to a chair form. And what a bergère is a closed armchair. So if you have a closed armchair, you always have a bergère. Whether it's Louis XVI, Rococo, Baroque, whatever, it's a bergère. And then there is the fauteuil. It is an open armchair. So when you have an open armchair, it's always a fauteuil, whether it's this style or the previous style. Here we have a commode, which looks similar to the one we just looked at before. And it is similar because it's also an antique. It has wonderful ornamental mounts protecting the sides, a serpentine front, and great marquetry. But look what they're doing to it today. Very, very similar form, but rather than recreating antiques as an antique, look at how similar that form is. But they have unleashed their creativity and their sense of fun. Very similar ornamental mounts, but what a playful use of painting technique. It really creates almost that sense that they're just not afraid, to express their style. This one is a little hard to see, but it actually is about the color of my scarf. So it's a smaller chest. It still has some ornamental mounts. It has some painting technique on the front, but what it's really about is this fabulous color, orange. Now here, we're looking into a fabulous antique dealer's shop. When you see all of this together, it reminds us more of those palaces, doesn't it? And we don't live in palaces, most of us. So what the French are doing and what we would propose is mixing that, having some antiques but also being willing to take that French flair and mix it with modern. This I had to take in one shop window because this is the most artful representation of a modern fauteuil chair that I've seen in recent years. I just love their ability to stretch the envelope and not say that it has to be what it always has been in the past. They have a velvet seat, but the back is a plain fabric with a silk screen design. It's almost like a modern squiggle. And I found that very artful and very representational of their stylishness, of French chic. They love their animal prints. This is a printed cowhide. A new damask pattern also combined with velvet. And although we recognize it as a very traditional damask pattern, what is making it fresh is the graphic quality of how they've drawn the damask. It's very crisp and clean, and you can just tell that it's a new graphic take on an old damask. And did I say that they like animals and animal prints? Beautiful velvets. And here's another essence of French style, is look at what they have done with this very traditional damask, very formal fabric, but they're expressing it on a modern chair. So let's just talk about how we might put these things together in terms of fabrics and furniture, art and accessories to create that kind of style in your home. Let's take a small foyer. What will we do with that? Well, we could get an antique commode. We all know that word now. Has great ornamental mounts. What else would we do? We could get two nice side chairs for either side of the commode. In a great fabric, of course, naturally animal print. If you have the ceiling height, a lantern would definitely say you're French. But if you don't have the ceiling height, two lamps on either side of the commode would also work. And these traditional ones would be great, but don't be afraid to mix it up. The French wouldn't be afraid. This modern form would also look very sharp with that ensemble. A mirror always looks great in a foyer. These are antique frames. You could get an antique frame and put a bevel mirror in it. Now what if you had a large foyer? Well, you can handle a large foyer by putting in an impressive console, an antique one if possible. If not, there's some nice reproductions. This is a reproduction which we used in a foyer here, so that can work. You probably have great ceiling height. So now you can do what the French do. You can really get a beautiful French-looking lantern and put it on your black and white floor. Put a great mirror over the console, some pretty sconces on either side. If you have a big enough foyer, you might have a curving stair coming down. You can tuck a big round table into the curve of that stair, put a lamp on it, or if you have the room, put a beautiful little side chair next to it. And since the French like dogs, this pair of porcelain greyhounds would be a great accessory to finish off that foyer. Now, how do you handle a living room? Now, a French style reproduction sofa like this could look very pretty. This is sort of a toned down Louis XVI. But if you want to be a little more informal, you could get something more modern and cushy with some pretty tossed pillows. And then add in a nice, beautiful hand-knotted rug. This is very subtle, which they tend to like. On the walls, greige or taupe paint. That's a great backdrop. And then for drapery, something very lustrous, possibly silk, but simply detailed, not an ornate construction. Now, if you had some antique commodes, you could add those on either side of the fireplace, and then put a pair of lamps on them. Now it's time to zip it up. Now we're going to deviate from the expected recipe and do something with a modern coffee table. Now on either side of the coffee table, a pair of bergères. They could be French style, like this, or you can push the envelope a little bit more and bring it a little more modern. Don't be afraid to mix it up. I think that this fun metal and glass coffee table could be very fun in between this pair of bergères or the French style. Now this very refined and graceful open armchair, this fauteuil, would make a nice complement to finishing that seating group. If you have a nice high ceiling, if you're lucky enough, you can do a beautiful chandelier. And if you don't, maybe you can fit in a pendant. Put as many lamps around the perimeter as you can on chest, because that will literally light up your room. Now add some traditional 3D bronze sculpture to the top of your commodes. And this 3D art really adds some depth to your overall design scheme. Now you can zip it up with art. Now if you have a fairly calm color scheme, you can be bold with color. Getting back into the more traditional vein of traditional art, one of my favorites is maps, antique maps. I'm also very fond of intaglios, very classic. How would we handle a bedroom? A bedroom looks great, it is grounded by a great bed. If you don't happen to have this kind of ceiling height, you could take this same form without the post. On one side we'll do a small console, and on the other one a small commode. We can put in swing arm lamps for reading, or we can grace the commode and the console with just a pair of very stylish and very unusual lamps. A bench at the end of the bed is always welcoming. If you happen to have a bedroom that's big enough for a fireplace, a pair of fauteuil, a nice leopard wool rug underneath that would be a very stylish statement and anchor that seating group. And if you have, a reasonable ceiling height, a petite chandelier would be nice. I like to have calm artwork in a bedroom, so it's peaceful and serene. So one could go with a set of antique prints like this, or one of my personal favorites, close-up photography of white flowers. They're beautiful, but they're also restful. And then you add some fossils to this bedside stand, and you are all set. You are stylish and ready to go.